Today's guest is somebody who is just absolute joy to be around. I just would describe him as the word delightful. Like, he is so nice, is a business owner in Melbourne, and is in the process currently of opening his second salon, and I thought would be an incredible person to talk to because he's just very real. So I am talking to Pete Dunn, owner of Frankis salons in Melbourne. And we walk through everything, how he started in the industry, from working in a coffee shop beside a hair salon and getting his foot in the door, and really the power of just believing in yourself and backing yourself. And that opportunity comes that way when you are willing to work for it and have the confidence in yourself. So went from working in a salon, working for another salon, managing really high end, seeing all the finer details in what sets salons apart, and then how he went into opening his own salon. And that was something he'd always wanted. I think there's people who get into the industry who that is their dream from day one. I will own my own salon. And people who that's not the case at all. So Pete definitely always wanted his own. And you will see, I'll tag the Instagram and link it to the bios and all the platforms that I'll be sharing this on, because what he's done is created this incredibly inviting and warm, like you just feel the love and feel the energy that he puts into this, and his team and his staff and everything, from looking at it. And they are the highest rated Google salon, I think would be, the term, maybe not in the world, but they have over 300 five-star reviews, and talk about how that is important to growing your business and things like that behind the scenes that really matter. And that's something I've been really learning about as well during my time off, looking into how to grow a business, whether you're just an individual in a salon or whether it's your own business, and understanding those analytics that sometimes as hairdressers we don't think about, like people using Google or anything like that. So that was really interesting. I wanted to know how they came up with the name Frankie Salon, because Pete's name is Pete, not Frankie. And every time I think to message him or say something, I want to call him Pete. So I was like, why did you confuse us like this? How did this happen? So he goes through that. And now we are going to talk about also opening the second salon and how that happened, and how he approached a lady who owned it. He walked by, saw the salon, felt the feeling, and went in and said to her, if you are thinking of selling, I want to buy. And so he walks us through that whole process. And I just think it's so incredible. You manifest what you want, and he has done that. And we've even spoken now about doing a part 2 where we are going to talk, literally breaking down all of the finances. So what it costs to buy the chairs, what it costs to buy the basins, your tax every year, paying people super. So all of these things that when you are an employee, sometimes you're like, I don't understand. I'm generating this much money a week and this is my paycheck. Where is the rest of that money going? And feeling a bit ripped, but understanding that from a business perspective and a salon owner, that there are so much more behind the scenes that goes on, and expenses and costs and products and all of this. So he is someone who is just so transparent, and I really appreciate taking the time in the middle of launching a second salon during a pandemic. Made time for me is very flattering and humbling, and I really appreciate people taking the time to share their knowledge to better the industry and really allow people to have the knowledge that they maybe wish they knew. So dive into this episode of myself and Pete Dunn, owner of Frankis Salons in Melbourne. Today, I am sitting down and chatting with Pete Dunn, who I just think you are the most delightful person, that I'm just so excited to chat with you anyway. But I think that, yeah, you've got this incredible brand and this aura about you and your company, and I just want to pick it apart and know how you've done it.
I'm already blushing. That's so nice.
Well, for the people on Spotify, it'll be good, but on YouTube, we're going to see you.
Yeah, no, I know. No, that's so lovely of you to say, and I'm so happy to be here. And thank you for taking the time to make me one of your guests. It's so
Oh my gosh.
exciting.
Well, I just know that you would be so busy. You are in the process of opening your second salon in Melbourne right now, which is incredible in the situation that we're in. I mean, we are still in the never-ending lockdown of Melbourne. And for you to be opening a second salon, I know it's been a long time coming that
Yeah,
to be doing it in this, I think is such a massive achievement to be able to be in a position that your business is thriving to do that. I think it's
thank
incredible.
you. It's I often ask myself why would I put myself through this, but I'm in it now, and we're just it's happening. So I'm
Yeah,
happy as yeah, and we're hopefully at the end of what is this absolute roller coaster of a year, and
I
hopefully that we're
know.
done
Well,
now.
I know that this has been a project for you for quite a while. I had the inside scoop maybe before some people did,
Yeah,
I like to think.
you really did. I'm
But
trying to
let's start
remember.
at the beginning and just kind of the main thing I want to pick your brain about is the business aspect and how you got into that. But you started hairdressing in a little bit of a unique way. You used to work at a cafe beside a hair salon, right? And that's how
That's exactly.
you became
Yes,
aware of the industry, kind of.
I started at. I just worked at this cafe while I was in like at school, and then I became really good friends with the girls next door, which was a hairdresser, and I actually ended up spending more time in there than I did at school. And then I remember this conversation, and I was in there one day, and I was like wagging school to go to the salon, and I was like, "This is silly. I just need to make this my job, and then I'll be happy as." And it has been a roller coaster of a ride since I actually started that journey. And the girls at that salon were just the best. It was a family run business. And I think I had this platform and this love and this care that really just transformed my view on hairdressing, and also just put me into the future, and went,
Because you saw
it
what
was
they were
just,
doing and were like, I could be very successful doing this.
yeah, and I loved it. I
Yeah.
was never like I was like, as soon as I was there, I was like, oh, I don't want to leave. But I'm also working and making money, and I'm making people really happy. I
You
think that was
have
the
the
other thing for me.
personality for that anyway, that just like being around people would give you a buzz that then you're giving that back to them. So I
Yeah.
think it seems like a perfect fit for you.
But it was funny because I would have never thought I would be a hairdresser. But the fact that I met these people, and then all of a sudden I was just, and no joke, from them saying, "You're going to be fine and we'll teach you," to me cutting hair was a matter of 6 months.
Really.
And yeah. And I
And
was
so
just,
I
and they were
read
like,
in your little bio that you gave me that you did not
no
enjoy
one,
TAFE.
no one knows this. I feel like I'm bringing myself undone. I'm like, I don't even know whether I'm a qualified hairdresser, but I,
Because it's
what's
not
the word,
like in
man?
America where you have to have a license or anything, or in Canada you have to have a license. Here you don't really have to have that, correct?
No, absolutely not.
Yeah.
Um, but but I'm just thinking back. I was like, I remember when I was like, they're like, yeah, we'll get you enrolled in school and you'll do it. And I remember going and then thinking, I hate this. And I didn't understand any of the things they were talking about and all this stuff. And I was like, I'm not getting any of this. I just know that, like, if I'm so visual that if I get shown something once
You'll
and
pick
I
it
do it
up.
a few times, I
Which I
get it.
think is really interesting and really good for people who are coming into this industry to hear that people who are successful and people like you and I who love it. Like I live, breathe, everything I do is hair. I'm obsessed with it. Like I love it. But I hated hair school. Like I went to college for a
Hate
year
it.
and I hated it. And everyone's like, what? How could you hate it if you love it? And I'm like, nah, it's still school.
Yeah.
You're still going, you're sitting at a desk. Like,
Yeah, they're still telling you that you're wrong. You're still having to write. You're still having to read,
so
retain the
I think that
information, and
that
then
can be discouraging for people who have had this dream, like me maybe, who wanted to be a hairdresser forever. And then I get to hair school and I'm like, oh shit, like I don't know if
mm,
I like this, but it's completely different worlds, hair school and being in the salon.
100%. And I remember I've got an apprentice now who is me to a T and hates school. Like absolutely cannot stand it. Doesn't want
Yeah.
to go. And I'm like, I know, like I was you. So I'm like, you're in the best possible place to be because I'll get you over that line and we'll get you there. Because I'm
So
like, I don't.
incredible.
So many people push and push and push school. And it's like, yes, I understand it's a fundamental part, but you've got to figure out your learning style, and then sort of, you can't just put everyone in one box and go, this is what we do and this is how we do it. It's like, okay, you learn like this. Let's go to your strengths and make sure that we'll teach you all the things you need to know, and then we'll help you fill out the writing. But as long as you know how to do it, you'll be fine.
Yeah. And I think that's what makes you a really good boss and somebody who people would enjoy working for, is that you understand that there is a difference in the way everybody learns and that you're tailoring it to them. And somebody who works for you might love TAFE and love going to school. And that's,
I've had them as well, and they thrive. They go there, they're absolute nerds. They get all their book work done, and that's the way their brain works. So it's fantastic. But there's definitely two types of learning, and I was certainly the other type of totally visual and hands-on, and just throw me in, and sure, I might mess it up a few times, but eventually I'll get it.
Yeah,
And we'll be
totally.
fine.
And you still are doing hair now, right? And now you are a business owner, and we'll get into that, but you still do clients as well?
I do so many. I'm on the floor. I can't actually, we're trying to drip feed me off the floor, and it really isn't, it's not working. It's really not
You
working.
are
And
enjoying both aspects, the business and the still doing hair.
100%.
That's amazing.
I've had to, I'm an absolute control freak by nature. So for me to have quality control over my business, and that's a reflection of me, and then also making sure that my clients looked after and my staff looked after, I've had to learn how to manage all of those expectations.
Yes.
But we're doing it, and it's working. So it's
So
really
exciting.
It's lots of fun.
So when you started at that salon, you kind of did what we would call like an apprenticeship, right? Like you did your training through them. And then you
Yes.
ended up managing another salon quite quickly after that. How did that kind of happen? And did you want that management role? How did you fall into a management role?
So I'd done 3 years. I'd done my apprenticeship, let's just say, and I wasn't technically finished, but I was really on the floor there. I was working back-to-back clients all the day, and I think at the time I thought I had a really good hand on things about what I was doing. I probably didn't, looking back now, but I remember at that time thinking, if I stay here forever, this is going to be me done. And I need to go out. I was so comfortable so early that I wanted to be uncomfortable.
Yeah.
I was like, I want to be okay with being uncomfortable. So I was
That's
like, let's just go. Let's just go. And I remember walking down, what prompted me to move, I was walking down Glenferrie Road in Hawthorne, and there was this big salon, and I'd come from like a tiny little baby salon, and there was this 20 seats either side, massive, and I was like, that's where I want to be.
Yeah.
And there was a sign saying we're hiring, and I was like,
Meant to be.
Maybe that's what happened. So
Goosebumps.
I walked in and I spoke to the receptionist, and she's like, yep, just email your CV. That afternoon I got a phone call saying, can you come back this afternoon? We want to interview you. Met my
Couldn't
boss.
you have just done that while I was here?
Met the owner of the salon and lied about everything and said, yep, I've been qualified for 2 years on the floor, blah, blah, blah. And she's like, all right, let's get you in for a trade. And I was like, oh God, they'll never find out. Now they will. And went in there, did a trades test, took my mum and my girlfriend in, did the trades test, remember dying the whole way. I had never used Aveda color before. Have you used Aveda before?
No, and it's friggin' complicated,
I had come from
isn't it?
It's quite complicated, and my mum, I took in 2 blondes, both have tints, and the blondes process really dark. Like, even though they're blonde, like you look at the tint and it looks like it's black on their head. So I remember I died, and I put their colors, and I was like, well, I failed because their hair's gonna be black.
No, you didn't say to them, I've never used Aveda color before. Like, you didn't want them to know, kind of?
No, they helped me mix the color.
Okay.
But when it was on, I was like, it's black. Like, I don't know what's happening. I've ruined it. Anyway, all rinsed out, and it was fine. Got the job, started like 2 weeks later. And then I remember just being in there, and I'd come from my salon background was like it was like a family. It was like super laid
mom
back.
and pop shop kind of.
Really, yeah. So like no real structure to anything. Like just it was really lovely. But I craved structure.
Yeah.
And this was like the opposite. It was like, everyone gets tea and water on arrival. Everyone gets a sensory journey. There's structure. Everyone gets rebooked. Everyone gets recommended retail.
Yeah.
And it was aspects of, it was like a regime, and it was so busy and so professional. And I was like, there has to be a happy medium between where people are getting this beautiful service, but also having that really personable, relaxed side as well.
Which is
So
exactly what I've been looking for. I came from that as well. And I was like, I do love this, but there's also a part of me that just wants to show up in my Converse and a pair of ripped jeans and just be a bit more chilled, you know?
yeah,
But it's hard to
yes,
eliminate those things that have refined you so much. And like, I think it's really
100%.
important to have that in your career, to pick and choose and to be able to acknowledge those professional aspects.
Yes. And I think it's really important because I think people crave structure. Like people need, that's like, it's in our DNA to, have a routine and have structure and have organized chaos. That's what I love.
Yeah,
But if it's just chaos, it's stressful.
totally.
So I think what I've been trying to do with my business is make sure that I have really great structure for everyone, a system to everything, but also have that flexibility where you do you and you be great and have that sort of freedom.
And
That
so
sort of
when you were working there, did you always have this vision of wanting to own your own business, or like how did that evolve from
100%.
working for somebody to now owning your own?
So from when I started, I always said I'd have a salon before I was 30 was my goal
Okay, amazing.
from the get go. So I
I
had to make
love
that.
knowing other people's journeys because so many people are not that way and would never want a salon. Like that was
Yeah.
never something I ever thought about. And I was like, nope, hairdressers are so annoying and I just don't want it. And then some people have that vision right off the bat. So I love that.
So I and I have got such a strong opinion that I'm always right. So clashing with other bosses and being
Yeah.
like, why are you doing like this? Or why are you doing that? It's like, well, I can't keep working for people if and keep clashing. And I was like, I would clash in a lovely way, but I'd be like, you're really doing it wrong. And I know there's a better way.
Yeah.
So I was like, I just need to have my own and I have no boss. So I can just be like, great, if it's my way, no one can challenge me.
And
And
you obviously like you hadn't gone to school for business or a uni degree, anything like that. So how have you gone from working for somebody to now being a business owner?
lots of challenges. But so I, there's a bit of a story. So
Tell us.
which we love. So I worked for this massive salon, managed it forever. And I literally ran that salon like it was my own. The boss who was there for 20 years went off and had children and pretty much just left me in there and was like, do it. And it grew. It grew really, really quickly. And
Incredible.
we had the best team and it was so much fun. And then as I started to get older, I was like, I know I need to go. And they were promising, they were like, we're going to do a salon together and we'll go in and we'll have this partnership and blah, 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 which I think their intention was really good, but their execution was really poor. So it got
Yeah.
to a point where I was like 2 years of conversation, no
Yeah.
action. And I'm
No
like,
follow through.
I got to go because if I don't do it, and I was with my brother, I've got five, I'm one of six boys.
Oh my God, really?
Yes.
Holy
So
smokers.
so many boys. So we had this family holiday and we were in Vietnam. And I remember having this conversation with my brother and he's like, dude, you've just got to, he's like, you're so ready to go. And I've like, just watched you do it. He's like, let's just go. He's like, I'll back you. We'll get the money and we'll just go and do it.
And what does your brother do? What's his background and
So
career?
he's a sleep scientist, but has
Like studies people sleeping.
studies people sleeping. And if you have trouble sleeping,
Oh
you go
my
to
God. Can
him
I have
and
his number, please?
yeah. So good. And he has his own business called REM Sleep, and he treats and diagnoses people with sleep apnea and then sells them the equipment they need to fix it. So he's
Incredible. I'm
very
going to need that.
business.
We'll be having another conversation after this.
So he's one of these people. He is so business,
Yeah.
and really driven by analytics and data and systems and processes in terms of that, where my brain would be baffled.
And
And
he'd already been doing that in his own aspects that
yeah,
he knew how to implicate that or whatever into your own business to help you.
100%.
Amazing.
And where I'm totally people, and he's terrible with people, terrible in terms of his rapport with people, but is amazing in terms of anything technical, is insane. So we balance each other brilliantly. So we have this sort of yin and yang where he lets me have the flexibility that I require, and he really enjoys doing, like, he loves coding and doing the website and Google Analytics and making sure that how we're being presented to the public on Instagram is amazing, and he loves it. And
He does
that's
all
something
of
that
that. And you have a
he does.
very cool Instagram, like it's almost very futuristic, like with the mirrors and like it's like a still image, but then the mirror's moving. It's like it reminds me of this. There's this ride at Disney World. You go on the carts and there's like things moving, but nothing around is moving. That's what your Instagram reminds me of, but in a beautiful way.
Yeah. Well, when we first started Instagram, we were like, both my locations are, they're not in shopping centers and they're not on strip shops. So we're standalone stores in back streets.
Yeah.
So there isn't a huge amount of foot traffic to each. So we knew that modern day foot traffic is Instagram or socials, right? So I was like, as long as we look amazing on the phone, no one's looking around them anymore. They're only looking on their phone. So as long as we look great on there, they'll come to us. And
so true.
they did. They came.
So how did you go from this conversation on family holiday? Like, had you been saving for a long time knowing that you were going to open this? Had you gone to the banks asking? Did you have an accountant? Like, how did you go from idea to buying?
So good question.
Thank you.
It was really fast. And we really underestimated how much money we would need. And we really underestimated the effort and the time that it requires to do it. But we secured something like, I think we thought we'd be able to do it for 35,000. So we secured 40. Yep, 40,000.
As in a reno. So you're not buying the actual, say, building. It's just like you're going to be renting from whatever. And you had in your head, $35,000 is what I'm going to need to renovate it. And that's it.
Yeah. Yeah. Because in your head, you think, cool, I need 6 mirrors, 6 chairs. I need, 2 basins. How much can that cost, really?
Yeah.
It's like,
who knows?
Well, it costs a lot.
Spill it. I want to know everything.
Yeah. So we secured that money, and then I remember thinking we found the shop that we now own, but we leased it at the beginning.
Yeah. And was that a salon? Like, were you looking for salons that were already fitted to a salon, like say that they already have the plumbing and stuff like that done, or anything?
No, that would be smart. That would have been really smart. No, so I found this amazing space it's around the corner from my house, and I found it by accident. And then I was running past it every day. It was a new development, and then it came up for lease, and it was up for lease as a mixed use. So it was like a home office. Okay. Right, so it was 2 stories.
I've been in. Like, it's beautiful.
When I spoke to the agent, he's like, "Oh yeah, it's fine. It's got this mixed use title, so you can use it as anything," which wasn't true. And so we signed the lease for 5 years or something, and then got a girlfriend of mine is my architect, and she designed it. And then I went to the council, and they're like, "Oh yeah, so it's actually registered as a house." So now you have to turn it into a commercial property. So it's called a change of use. Okay. Which then that itself was about $30,000 without having anything.
And you have to do that. Like, you can't not do that.
You can't. No, you have to do it. So we were in now.
Oh my God. So there's your budget.
Oh my God.
Great. Now you have this house.
Yeah. So my brother remortgaged his house.
OMG.
Yep. And we took out 200,000, and we're just like, if we're going to do it, we're just going to do it really well. And it was just a disaster. It was an absolute disaster. That whole build was just like one thing after another. I could talk about it for hours. It was just like everything that could go wrong went wrong. And then all of a sudden I eventually got it open, and it was.
And did you have anybody working for you at that point, or was it always going to be just you, or like how?
So I had 1.5 staff, 1 full-time, 1 part-time, and me. And within a month, it was like I didn't know what to do. I was like, I've got so many people trying to get in. We couldn't accommodate people. The phone wouldn't stop ringing. It just.
And how did that happen? Is that just because you were so personable at your old salon and you left and were shocked that you had this really strong clientele, or like what?
So yes, I had an amazing network of clients, and it's something that I learned. My intention was always to be, I was like, I don't want to leave that salon and I don't want to message all my clients secretly. I don't want to be that person. And I had too much respect for my boss to do that.
Yeah.
But what I found out very quickly is if people want to find you, they'll find you.
And
it's
we're
like,
in the digital age where it's not very hard to search your name on Instagram and find you if they
no,
want you.
exactly. And it was really fast from me leaving to then my phone just ringing and messaging and where are you and what are you doing? And I was like, oh my God, which my old boss obviously was devastated.
Yeah.
But you don't own the clients. That's what I've learned. It's like, unfortunately you don't. You might like to think that you do, but realistically, you
they're
don't
going to
own the
go where they
clients.
want to go.
They're their own people.
And how long did the build take? So say you finding the space, how long before you were able to start generating revenue?
Like a year and a half. So
wow.
the reason, and like my new one I just did took 18 months and it was already a salon and I just renovated it because you still have to, like, I was at council for 12 months trying to get permits.
And what does the council do? What are they, like, I don't know anything about this. So I want to know everything. Like, what are you going to council for?
So you're going to council.
Can't you just skip them?
Oh my God, I wish. That would make life so easy.
One of my girlfriends works for council, so it's like I do know a bit because she's like, I hate this job. Like, I just ruin. I'm a dream crusher. I'm a dream crusher. She's like, it's not my fault.
Literally like
it's not my fault.
They literally just say no, and then it's like, okay, and like, why?
So were you off for, if you just said it, sorry, it took 18 months. So you resigned from your salon, had this idea, started it all, or were you working while you were building it? Like, how are you able to have that much time off, take out $200,000?
My plan was to work while I was building, and I got found out very quickly with what was happening. It got leaked, and so my boss found out about it, and then I was pretty much gone.
Yeah.
The day she found out, she's like, yeah, we're done now. Like, relationship over, which is fine. Like, if that's what it has to be, that's what it has to be. Yeah. I wouldn't be like that with my stuff, but whatever.
Yeah.
Anyway, then I had this empty shop with nothing in it, but I had people wanting to come. So I converted my salon, my empty Richmond salon, into this like temporary setup. So like a pop-up, like with a plastic sink plugged into a tap and 2 chairs. I went to IKEA and like set it all up. And then I ran this tiny little backyard hairdressing salon out of the shop before it was renovated.
Because you had to, like, 1, you were busy and the demand was there, and 2, you need the revenue. You need some income.
I need some income. And and then it was really actually great that I wasn't working for someone, because when it came to the build, I was really needed. And I was needed there to make decisions, give the okay on lots of things. And
how did you find contractors for it? Like, are there companies that specifically build salons, or anybody can do that? Like,
another hard question. It's really hard. So no, there isn't. There's shop fitting companies that you can use, which is what I've used for my last building company who built Richmond. Actually doesn't exist anymore. Okay. But they were just a big building company. But a lot of because there's so much detail, especially in my salons, in terms of everything's custom. Like, everything is. There's not one thing in there that isn't like. Beautiful. They're pretty, but they take a lot of work to quote. So a lot of businesses won't even quote the job unless they're guaranteed. So it's like, because it would take them, say, maybe 3 weeks just to get the quote to you. Like, they're not going to invest that amount of time to then be told, no, I've chosen someone else. So really hard. And do your research on your builder. Like, that's really, really important.
Yeah. So
and make sure they have the right credentials. Because I've had, with my newest build, I actually had assigned a builder, and we'd gone through everything. He had I'd worked with him for months before the build, and it came to getting the permit, and he didn't have the right qualification to do the job. So then I had to go and get another builder. Like, it was just so, and that was it was his fault thinking that he could get it through, but it was my fault for not making sure that he had the credentials to actually do the work.
These are the things, like, as hairdressers, why would I know that? And I think these are the conversations I want to have, because people are afraid to take that leap because they don't know anything about construction. I don't know what the heck a council does, or all these things. So having these conversations with people who have done it and being able to share your knowledge is so appreciated. Like, I just think it's really...
And it's something that I would like. I think you've listened to my podcast. It was something that I really wanted to be
Yes.
able to give back to people and say, I wish I had this when I was just to take, even if you could take 10 notes and be like, we need to make sure we have these processes in line before we even begin and just know the questions to ask, it would make my life a hell of a lot easier.
Well,
And it
I
has
think
done.
your
Even just
podcast is a great idea, and I listened to it all yesterday. Prep, like I loved it, and that's exactly like when I started coming up with the ideas. It kind of started for people who work for themselves, and then people who got into education, like how did they come up with a curriculum or things like that. But these questions, I was like, what do you wish you knew beforehand? What's the biggest mistake you made? Like, how did
yeah.
you then be able to generate profit? And yeah, like all of these things I find so
Anyway,
interesting.
my biggest tip is research. It's like making sure that you know, like anyone can open up a hairdressing salon. It's not like hard to do, but it's knowing where you are in terms of what you want to attract, and then what also is your competition, and knowing how to beat that. And it's like
Yeah.
I had a haircut in every salon in Richmond secretly as an undercover. I was a plumber, right? So I'd go in and they'd be like, "Oh, so what do you do?" I'm like, "I'm a plumber." No one asked any questions from there. I was like, "Yeah, great." Spying around, looking at what they were doing, taking things that I loved that they did, and then also realizing that my competition in Richmond,
Didn't exist,
where
kind of.
at the time, it didn't exist. I was like, if
Yeah.
this is the level that they're coming in at, it's so easy for me to, one, really service the clients, and two, give them really beautiful
Yeah.
hair. So I knew my demographic, and that's what it was also really good to know. So that would be like my number one tip, is just knowing where you are and knowing what you're going in at, and just don't go and open up a mediocre shop. Like, go and
Yeah.
make yourself
Take the
really proud.
time. It took you a
Take the
year, over a
time.
year to do this,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
And you can't rush it. And I remember from the minute I really knew that I could do it to it wanting it to be open, is you want to really rush that process, because you want to reap the rewards of, I want to be in there and cutting hair and making money and, meeting people and creating culture. But, prior preparation will always prevent a poor performance. And I really wanted to make sure that it was really ready, and it was right, and it was beautiful.
And how did you go about picking staff? Like when you're in a place that you've taken out a big loan, how do you then start paying wages to people and deciding what
It's,
is appropriate to pay people? Like how do you know
it's,
that?
so you don't know that. That's the thing. So I had a bookkeeper straight away from the get go, and
Okay.
I was like, I want to always be able to, I'm massive on fairness. So I'm like, I used to always look at how much money I was generating for salons, and then my pay. And I was like, it never really added up. But
Yes, that's a huge, huge deterrent, I think, especially here in becoming a hairdresser, is that the wage doesn't seem to
it's not really
balance.
fair.
Like
No,
so that's where I'm like, but how do you go from a place where you've taken out a $200,000 loan or whatever,
on a
however
loan
much
and then do it.
money you've taken out, to them being able to pay people? How does that happen?
It's really hard.
Yeah.
But um, I think because of the position I was in terms of how much I was charging, and what the quality of work we were delivering, to
Yeah.
the level of stylists that I was hiring, we were able to charge more money, in turn being able to pay staff more money.
Yeah.
And one thing I massively realized is how many expenses there are in just owning the business, which you actually don't see as a hairdresser. Like, you're
Yeah.
not paying everyone's super. You're not paying a monthly tax bill of, thousands and thousands of dollars. You're not paying for everyone's insurance. You're not paying all these things.
Yeah.
So hairdressers don't see that either. So when they're
Yeah.
like, "Oh my God, I'm making so much money for the salon and I'm only taking home, this much," it's like, yeah, you are making a lot of money for the salon, but for that salon to actually operate, it
Yes.
is a huge amount of money. And
Yeah.
I got a real fright with when the bills start coming in. They come in hot and they come in heavy, and you're just like, yes, I've had an amazing week this week. We've made thousands of dollars, but even so, I've spent it all. I don't even know
And
what
that's
on.
something that I'm kind of getting from these conversations, that seems to be a common point, is that the profit isn't
It's
actually that massive when you are
no,
the business owner, because you have the taxes, because you have the supers, because you have the product companies and all these things, that it's almost like, why own your own business? Like, do you wish, like,
a
why do it?
hundred, and it actually isn't about the money.
Yeah.
Like, it really isn't.
Because
And
you
like
could do
a
a
lot
chair
of
rental. and you don't have
My God,
any
I
of
would
this
none
and
of
make
it.
a killing as a colorist,
Exactly.
right? Like
Absolutely.
why
100%.
do the business?
I think it's about every different. I think it's about leaving a legacy and going, this is what I was really good at. This is what made me so happy. And this is like when I look at my shops, it's a product of me. And it's like
Yeah.
to be able to put, and like I love that. For me, that's really important.
Yeah.
And I was like, I always wanted to create a really safe space and a really beautiful space. And when I look at it, I'm like, it's literally me in a box. I love
I
it. So
think
it's
that
like
it's so, and you feel it when you walk in the door. Like I said, I've been in there and you feel it. It's warm, it's inviting, it's happy, and you have too many staff. Like, not that you have too many
they
staff, but
don't
you were busting at
they
the seams. That's not common for a,
I
a
think you
right?
worked in there for a day, didn't you?
Yeah, for a day I
Yeah.
came in, I was looking for a new salon,
Well,
and you were like, okay, yep, I'm hired. We're gonna hire you. It's amazing. We're doing it. And then somebody else is like, no, you can't hire her. You have 10 extra staff right now. She's not gonna have a chair to work in. Like,
you didn't
oh,
have a chair.
no, there wasn't it.
You
We were
didn't.
like squished in like sardines, and it was amazing. But it was just, you just have this really engaging, like I said, personality, and it seems like you do love it, and it shows that you want these people to be happy and working for you and having the balance and all of these things. That I think it goes to show that you have had too many staff and you needed to start another salon.
I remember, when I have hindsight all the time, and I was speaking to one of my clients who is a really good friend of mine, and at the very beginning of the business, and she said, I hadn't even got a shop, and she said, whatever you do, just make sure that you've got enough room to grow. And I
Yeah.
was like, yeah, it'll be fine. And then she's like, seriously, Pete, I'm telling you, like, make sure you've got a
Before
big
you
enough
started the
space.
Richmond salon, she said this.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then I got Richmond, and she's like, you should have got bigger. And I was like, I love Richmond because it is so intimate. And I never wanted to have, that I don't want that massive 30-seater
Yeah.
generic. Well, I want to be able to know my staff. I want to be
Have
able
these
to engage with
boutique
all the clients.
salons.
Yeah, I wanted it to be. I think hairdressing goes in waves of fashion. I think like there's those salons like where it is just like a one massive mirror and a seats as far as the eye can see. And I'm like, I don't want that for me.
Yeah.
I want personable. I want culture. I want all the staff to know each other, and I want the clients to be able to engage with each other.
Yeah.
So no, it was, but that was, I often have that moment of like Richmond grew so fast that I didn't have the space for it to grow. It was like, I still don't now. Like I'm literally, before talking to you, my girls are on the phone, rescheduling people. And I'm like, Richmond's now has over 4,000 active clients. And how do we fit all those people into this box with a lockdown and coming out and everyone wanting to be in there? It's like, it's a great problem to have. And I pinch myself thinking, every time I refresh my email, there's 10 more emails saying we need an appointment. I'm like, that's like, this is the best thing ever. But it's also, I've got nowhere to put them.
And are you getting these clients? Like, I know that you are very highly rated on Google. So how is that where you are getting most of your clients, or social
It's
media? Or
Google.
now it's that you have just created this amazing network of clients and you've attracted staff that have clients and now you're overflowing? Or how do you think that you've generated?
I think it's a combination of things. I think when we first started, Instagram was really big in terms of generating a clientele, and was all like because it was probably 4 years ago now, 3.5 years ago. So it was massively influencer. Like if you had an influencer, that generated heaps of clients. Now that doesn't work as well now. It's like everyone's got an influencer.
Yeah.
You sort of don't get much
And a
traction.
lot of people are aware that the influencer is just getting paid to post, like, then they're
Absolutely.
posting all kinds of crap that maybe they do genuinely like your salon, but they're also posting
Everything they can get
scrub,
their
what,
hands on.
like, like who knows what's
Yeah.
genuine anymore.
Absolutely. So, but then I think that people they really underestimate the power of Google and how you Google Analytics and what it can show you about who's looking at you, like, is insane. Like we have upwards of 10,000 people look at our page on Google a week.
And is
So
that
you've
something
got,
that you've learned from your brother? Like that's what he
yes,
does? So does he work for you, or you
he
work
works,
together?
he
Like,
does, he does everything that's behind the scenes in terms of all that sort of stuff. And it was more at the beginning, just getting it set up. Right now, he doesn't really have that much of an input, which
yeah.
is what he always wanted. He just wanted to be there to support me and make sure that we had all these things in place. And he's honestly, it's been able to be able to have someone there to have great business conversations with and problem solve with has been amazing. But he is just a gun with that sort of, making sure that your website links up with your Google so that everything just flows really well. And like we upload photos on Google like we do on Instagram. So that sort of that frequency is so important. But like we're having, like, Google tells you how you compare to other businesses like you in your area, and it's like, it's insane because we're so, people just don't take, people think, oh, I've set up my Google page, now it's done. It's like Google's like Instagram. You've got to feed it and feed it and feed it, and it just feeds you back.
And is that to your website? When you say your Google page, is that just your website, or you have like a literal Google?
So if you Googled Frankis salon, it would come up with like a picture of our salon, and then you can sort of go into that page, and it will have like photos from the business owner, our operating hours, all that sort of a bit about us.
Yeah, like when so I know what you mean. Yeah.
But it pretty much feeds people to your website, which then they feed to the book.
Yeah. And because it's so beautiful and so attractive and so warm, that's where you're getting most of your new clients from.
Absolutely. And then as soon as you get, like, I think we've got over 350 5-star reviews with no negative. So as soon as you read that.
And do you think that, do you ever get flack for that? Or people like, you bought those, or do people say anything or no?
Yeah, but sometimes, but you know what? They're such detailed reviews that you can't buy them. It's like people have written essays and paragraphs about how their experience was and how they've been died. So as soon as you go down a rabbit hole of even looking, and then you start reading, it's like, we want to go. I want to go. Like, no one's got anything bad to say about this place.
Yeah.
The day that poor person that gets the 3-star review will just be
fired.
So much pressure.
Love it. And how did you come up with creating a second salon? Literally just because you were bursting out of the first one? Or was the goal to keep, like, is the goal to kind of keep going, or what? The goal's
5.
Oh my God, amazing.
I've always had 5, but I think slow and steady is the way to go. But coming across this one was an accident, and it was a really funny day. I had taken the day off work, and it was a Friday, and I remember, and I'd gone out for breakfast with a girlfriend, and I was driving her home, and she said out of nowhere, "Oh no, go down this street. I want to show you something." And I was like, okay. So like driving down, and then I saw the shop, and she's like, this is like this really cute little old lady salon. And she's like, there's this little lady in the web. She's like, no one's ever in there. And I was like, I'm going to buy that salon.
So she was taking you down there to show it to you?
Just to show me, because how cute it is. And I was like, I'm like, I'm going to buy that salon. And she's like, shut up, Pete. You are not. I was like, watch me. Parked the car, and I went in straight away.
Go-getters. It's people who are go-getters. This is how stuff happens. Tell me.
So I walked in, and she's like 75, and I walked in and I said to her, she's like, oh, how can I help you? And I'm like, I've got a really bizarre request, but if you ever want to sell this salon, I have to have it. I'm like, this is it. Like, I know this is it. And I was covered in goosebumps. I was like, oh, and I was like, I knew.
How come? Like, because you've completely redone it. So what did you see that made you feel like that?
Because I was like, when we had Richmond, we had this criteria of what we wanted. So we wanted a standalone shop in a back street, parking available, great lighting, all these things. And as I saw it, it literally ticked all of these boxes.
That you had previously created in your head for you. Yeah.
And was my subconscious going like, this, you've already done this and this is it. And she said, because it is so unique where it is. And she said to me, lots of people come in here wanting to buy this shop. And I was like, oh. And she said, but she's like, everyone wants to turn it into a cafe, and I'll only ever sell it to a hairdresser. And I said, well, luckily for you, I'm a hairdresser. And
a damn good one.
And then she's like, oh, okay. And then she's like, oh, well, this is a bit out of the blue and blah, blah, blah. Yeah. And then she started I was in there for like an hour and a half. My friend
Where was your friend still in the car?
She's sitting in the car. She was, just to walk home. I couldn't go. She walked home. Anyway,
He just left you there.
I was like, why would you? I was like, I can't leave. Like, I'm in this now. We're gonna
Yeah.
have anyway. So she took me through the whole history of the shop, and there's like photos of it with horse and cart out the front. And it used to be a butcher, and my dad was a butcher. So we had this like
Oh, just
amazing
everything's
conversation.
aligned, eh?
Everything just it all aligned. And then I said to her, you know, you don't need to make any decisions right now, but you know, if you ever do want to sell, just let me
Keep
know.
me in
So I
mind,
gave her
yeah.
like my card. You know, a week later she called, and she's like, just out of curiosity, how much would you pay?
And did
I was
you
like,
have an idea? Did you know? Had you talked to your
I
brother at
had,
this point, being like, I've gone and talked to this lady?
well, it was so funny. So he was traveling around Australia with his family, and I remember FaceTiming him, and I was like, I have found the next shop. And he's like, oh, show me. And he's like, oh yeah, that's it is amazing. He's like, yeah, that's it. I was like, great. And then we spoke about money, and I was like, I wonder, like, to base a figure on a business, you have to see its financials, see what it's
Yeah.
making, see what its profit is, all that sort of thing. So I went to her and I was like, she said to me, how much would you be thinking of paying? And I said, well, I'll have to speak to your accountant and see, you know, how much money it's making and blah, 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 blah. She said, oh, okay, here's his number. And I rang the accountant, and he's like, it's not even making enough money to be registered for GST, which means it's making like, it's
Yeah.
making nothing.
Yeah.
So he's like,
And does she
it's
own the
worth
building, or she?
no. So she just
Okay.
has rented it for the past 25 years. And she's
Okay.
only
So
ever
it's
worked there
just
by
about
herself.
getting her off the lease, kind of, and that's how you would.
Yeah, I was literally buying her out
Okay. Yeah.
of it. So I was like, oh God, I'm pretty much, I'm not buying a business. I'm buying her out because I want the
Yeah.
space. So it's really hard to put a price on that. But I had and she got me to my last dollar. Like, she was really good. Like, I went in at half, and then she came back and she's like, absolutely not. And I was like, all right. I'm like, here's my final offer. It's my absolute max. And she was like, I'll take it. And she took it. But she said, on the condition that I can come back and work for you.
Oh my God.
And she is. She's coming back and
I love
working
it.
for
I
me.
saw the post. I think that's so, but that just goes to show the type of person that you are, is that you are a genuine human being who has a heart and loves the backstory and loves that there is this relationship and this meaning behind it. Like, I feel like that's so
Yeah.
you.
It's been I'm really excited. Like, it's really special.
Oh my
Really, really
gosh.
special. And every time I talk to her, I was so nervous because she has like this whole network of old ladies that come in, right? And I
Which
was
is
like, if
very
she doesn't,
opposite to your demographic, right? Your demographic to
oh
me
my
is
God, it's
like
just
20 to 40, no? Or something like that. Like
100%. 20
long
to 40,
balayage, beautiful hair.
Yes. And hers is the opposite. Hers is like 80 to 100, short, grey,
Oh my God,
permed.
can I just
Like,
come volunteer? Do you know that the only thing I was ever going to do besides hair was work with seniors? But I don't even
yeah, I
want to
love
work. I
them.
just want to go hang out. Like, I don't
Yeah,
want to do the work. I just want to go hang out.
but I was so nervous about she wasn't there and them coming in and being like, where's Mary and what have you done with her? That I would have this sort of negative impact. And I was like,
Yeah.
I don't want that. I want it to be like, oh my God, Mary's still here, but there's this other guy that's taken over. And it was like, if I left my salon in Richmond after 20 years of being there, all my
Yeah.
customers coming back were like, where is he and what have you done with him? If some
Yeah.
like new thing took it over, they'd be like, what the fuck?
Yeah. Love that.
But no, so it's very, very exciting.
So she'll just continue operating through you and have her
She's just going to
clients
do it.
and
Yeah, she's just going to rent a chair for a couple of days a week for like two half days is what she wants to do.
oh my gosh.
Perfect.
Amazing. I have a
Yeah,
question that I
fun.
don't want to forget asking you. What is
Tell me.
Frankie? Like, how did you? Because every time when I first used to
Well,
message
people
you in the
think I'm
beginning,
Frankie.
every time, and I
They're
would
like,
write
"Are
messages
you
like,
Frankie?"
"Hi Frank," and I'm like, "Oh shit, that's not his name. What the hell is his name?" And then I'm like, "Why is it called Frankie Salon when your name is Pete?" Like, I've been dying, and I don't want to forget the question. Why? How did you come up with that in the zebra? Like, what does it mean?
So Frankie is my grandpa.
Ah.
Yeah, who we never
Senior
met. I
connection.
know. It's so good, and he's my grandpa. And then when we named the business together, and it was real like we need to have like we were just throwing names around, right? We were like, I had all these other like whatever like we seemed would be cool, and I was like, whatever we do, it has to have meaning to us. It needs to be, it needs to have some sort of connect. It can't just be a random name. It needs to have like something that is really important to us. And like family is really important to us. It's like, great. And then we're going through like, my nana is called Peg, who I was really close to. I'm like, maybe we'll call it Pegs or like something that's, and I was like, that sounds a bit strange. And then we were at this cafe, and then my brother just said, my grandpa's Frank. And he's like, Frankie, we'll just like, that was his nickname. We'll just call it Frankie. And it's like, that, it would be great. And it'll be like a legacy to him, even though he's not alive anymore, but we've created, I was like,
Yeah.
perfect. And it was done. And then we, in this cafe, and this cafe was sort of like, it had like homewares as well. It was like this big warehouse, and we sit at this table, and behind my brother was this huge mural of zebras, right?
So
From like
cool.
wall to wall. And I was like, and like, then we started talking about what our logo would be and whether it would be like a beautiful F or like, you know, how it would look. And I looked up and I was like, well, why don't we just have it as a zebra? Because we're in this cafe and that we will remember forever when we named it and where we were. So that's where the zebra came from.
Oh my God, I love it. That's so interesting. Do people
Yeah.
often call you Frankie?
Always. Every time someone's come into the salon in South Africa when I've been sitting in there, they're like, oh, you must be Frankie. I was like, yeah, sure, I'll be Frankie. Why not?
But at least it's your grandpa. Like, I'd be cool if people started calling me Elizabeth, my granny, you know? Like,
Yeah.
at least it's something
Yeah.
meaningful than like, I don't know, something not.
Exactly. Which is a random name.
Yeah.
Yeah. Clips and combs.
Yeah. Are you Clips?
Yeah, literally.
Oh my gosh. Well, I just think this has been so interesting, and I'm just so happy for you. I can't wait to see it blossom. And like I said, to be going through, do you feel a little bit kind of glad that you've been going through the build during this time? Because
I wouldn't be. I would have gone crazy. It's been the biggest
like it
blessing
forced
for me
you to
be.
not be at work, so all you've been able to do is do the build, right?
And I was there every day. I go there every day, meet the builders, take them coffee, run them through what we're going to do, get the schedule. And it's like, even though it's so small, there's so much to think about. And it's like, even dealing with electricity and gas and a new phone and FPOS and banks and, you know, real estate agents and all those things.
And is it just something that once you're in it, you just figure it out? Like you're just
100%.
Googling and through people, and that's how you're kind of doing it?
Yeah, you just figure it out. Absolutely. But it's the most rewarding thing in the world. Like it was really funny. I was with a friend this morning, and he had been there from me finding it to, we flew up to Sydney and met my designer, and he got to see the brief as soon as we got it, which was like nearly 2 years ago.
Oh
and today I took him through for the first time, and he was like, I am like emotional because it's been such a journey to go from paper, this drawing, to all of a sudden a reality. And it's a really, I recommend it to anyone who's thinking about it, just to absolutely do it. Like there's no way. Find a way, get it done. But it isn't easy, and be prepared to cry and become emotional and not get your own way and have a really bad temper sometimes, but also be like, I'm super grateful that I've always I often pinch myself and it's like, how am I even managing this? And this is an unrealistic expectation when I was younger, and now it is my reality. So it's awesome.
I think it's incredible, and I think it goes to show if you want it, you can have it, and if you're a good person,
Just
good things come to you.
Manifest.
Yeah.
Because just get it done. And it's awesome. And that's what I do. Even with my team, I'm like, all of us together, I'm like, for me, standing up here and talking to you and guiding you on how I want you to be and coaching you to be the best hairdressers ever, I'm like, I often had this moment, I'm like, who the fuck is coaching me now?
Do you have a business coach or a mentor? Did you ever have someone through that?
No.
To help you?
I had my brother.
Yeah.
Just my brother. Enough. Yeah. And I had great bosses, and I've had terrible bosses. And I think if you take all the good things, having a bad boss isn't a bad thing, especially if you want your own business. It just shows you what you don't want. How it makes you feel, what they do that you don't like, why you don't like it. But also having brilliant bosses who you take all of those amazing things that they did for you as well, and you just put them all into one and then add your little spin on it. I
love it. Well, I think that you are creating waves, and I'm so excited. I'm going to come for a walk down to the shop one day and just check 100%. It out. I want to see all the old ladies.
Yeah, I know.
Make sure I come on a day when there's when they're in, okay?
Absolutely. You're more than welcome. And congratulations on everything you're doing as well. It's really it's inspiring to watch other people that just start. And I'm all about a starter. Just like if you've got an idea, just make it happen. And even if it takes a year or 2 years or 3 years for you to get it where you want to be, like it's much better than looking back and going, I wish I just had have done that or tried. So
That's what I
well done.
think too. It's like I just felt like I wanted to have these conversations for myself to navigate. I feel like I'm at a point in my career where I really want to be getting more into education or more just figuring out what is going to be the next step for me and when are we ever going to have time off like this. So I was like, I'm just going to start talking to people about
Cool.
how they've done it. Like, how did you go from working in the salon to being a national educator on tour? And then it turned into business owners and chair rentals and all of these things. And my
Yeah.
girlfriends were like, I'd love to know that. Tell me what they say. Like, and I'm like, oh, maybe I'll record it.
Yeah.
And if you ever
Yeah.
ask
Because
me
you,
about podcasting or tech, I am not. That's not my forte at all. And the fact that I'm doing it, how the hell am I doing it? It actually is surprising. So it's the
the,
same for you going into
it's
business. It just
yeah,
kind of snowballs and you figure it out if you want it. And if you really want it, then
absolutely.
you do it.
And you just say yes. You say yes to everything. Like even you, that was my, especially coming into this year, I was like, my business is at a point now that I love it. But if I want to take it to that point of being recognized by other hairdressers, I just have to say, because I've always been given lots of opportunities by different brands. And I've always been like, I'm too busy or I don't have the time. But I'm like, now it's like, if I want my business to grow and I want my staff to benefit, I just have to say yes and go and put myself in all those uncomfortable positions again and just do it. So, but just say yes to things and then things happen. If you keep saying no, and then nothing's going to happen. So
Yeah.
change equals change.
Love it. And I think that is an incredible point to leave it on. And I'm so grateful for you. I know you would be so freaking busy doing
I've loved
everything
it.
and
Thank
starting and
you.
opening. So I appreciate you taking the time. And I reckon we could talk for hours about it. So maybe we'll have a part
Hours
two and
and
check in and see how the new salon's doing. And I just
done.
really
Yeah.
appreciate people like you taking the time and sharing their knowledge and inspiring the rest of us to follow our dreams.
Go, go, go and get it. It's amazing.
Love it. Thank
And
you
thank you for
so
having me
much.
again. I've had a ball.
Yeah, I've just loved
Thanks.
talking to you. I've loved it.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Till next time.